The following video has talks of gore and horror in it. Viewer discretion is advised.
Can someone please give Georgie back his fucking boat?
No.
And can you please take the scissors away from that crazy bitch? Hello, guys. Welcome to the podcast of our Charming Analysis podcast for our Halloween Spectacular. Today, we are going to be talking about the It franchise and the movie Us by Jordan Peele. So, what do you want to start with first? Let's get right into this. What do you want to start with first?
Just go from order.
Okay. So, the first one we're going to be talking about that we saw last night and today because, oh my gosh, this fucking movie is so long, it's not even funny. This is probably the longest movie I've ever seen, to be honest with you. Like, longest run time for a movie I've ever seen. It is literally 2+ hours. Not just, like, for one. Like, for both, not just for both of them, but for each one. Mm-hmm. The first one was, like, chapter 1 was 2 hours, and the second part was, like, 2 hours and 30 minutes. And it's like, good gosh, how the fuck do you have that much footage for one fucking movie? I just have to say that before we start. So, first one we're going to be talking about is the movie It. The one with Pennywise in it. We decided to watch the
2017
version. We decided to watch the 2017 version, the newer one, because I think the original came out in the 80s, I believe, right? When did the original come out? I know it was really old, though.
I don't know.
But yeah, we decided to watch the remake, because we never originally saw the first one. So we were just deciding, let's just watch the remake. And this was all JC's fault. They decided to...
How's it my fault?
You were the one that brought it up. You were like, oh, we're going to do this time.
Yeah, you're going to watch It. Because I want you to. Yeah.
And that's kind of how it started. They told me, like, we should eventually see the movie before... Like, during the Halloween Spectacular show. I was like, okay, fine, we'll watch it. But don't be surprised if I get up halfway through it. But surprisingly, I didn't. It was actually not as bad as I thought it was going to be.
What'd you think it was going to be?
I just thought it was going to be very, very gory, like a Saw movie.
No.
But it's really not. But anyway, why don't you tell them what It Chapter 1 and 2 is about? Because it's like...
It's about a group of kids who discover that children are going missing by this evil supernatural clown. And so they try to stop it. And face their fears.
Yep, that's literally it.
That's pretty much it.
That's literally the movie in a nutshell. Is that for technically both chapters? In a sense? Because we're talking about...
Yeah, it's for both.
Because we're talking about the whole...
Keep talking. I'll be back.
Okay. But basically, it's the same for both movies. The It franchise basically has 2 movies. And the reason it's 2 movies is because the story is so fucking long. It's not even funny. Like, if you add all of the hours together, it's about 4.5 hours or so, which is kind of ridiculous for a movie, in a sense. What do you think, honey? Do you think 4 hours is ridiculous for, like, a movie?
Well, I mean, I don't, well, there's franchises that are, like, go on for multiple movies, so.
But that's different. I mean, like, this is, like, this was so long, they had to split into 2 movies.
Yeah, but so that fucking everyone else at the time was doing that.
Yeah, like, the last Harry Potter movie did that. I think another series did that. I don't remember which one it was. Mm-hmm. But, anyway, I'm, like, kind of rambling a little bit. But I guess it's kind of hard to really unpack this one because this one had a lot of stuff go on. Like, this movie had so much shit going on. And not all that shit was even in the fucking book. Like, from what JC has told me, because I've never seen Stephen King movies until I met them. So, they've introduced me to a couple of them. I think, wait, is this the first one you've showed me? Or...
Maximum Overdrive.
Yeah. It's like the second Stephen King movie you've showed me. But they did know a lot about It and stuff in general. They actually knew a bit about it, which was interesting. Like, have you read the book before,
No.
or you just knew about it?
I knew about it.
Okay, so I guess I feel like I'm kind of rambling a bit. So why don't you start us off then, honey? What did you think of the It franchise in general? What did you think of it?
Like the first movie?
Well, let's start with the first one because it's chapter 1.
Yeah.
So let's talk about chapter 1 first and then go into chapter 2, and then we'll talk about it as a whole.
Okay.
So, what'd you think of the first chapter?
I really, really enjoyed it. I think it's a really great horror movie.
I was honestly feeling the same. The only thing was there was way too many jump scares for the like of me. Way too many jump scares in my personal opinion.
Yeah, but that's because you're not into horror as much as like other people are.
Yeah, but I'm willing to give it a chance and at least try it and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. But I think I've always been nervous to watch horror movies because I don't like the idea of gore. So the fact that that kind of shied me away from trying horror movies because a lot of the ones my mom would watch, my mom's into horror stuff. Uh-huh. She would watch a lot of like Exorcist movies and stuff, and that's one of the things that I did not like.
Your mom watched Exorcist movies?
Yes. She watched a lot of like...
So that doesn't bother her?
Yeah, it don't, but it bothers me. That's why I didn't like looking at any kind of horror movies for the longest time, because that's the kind my mom mostly watched. She didn't really watch like other kinds, at least that I can think of at the moment. She's seen a lot of like Exorcist movies in general, so, and that's one of the things that kind of steered me away from it. But honestly, the first chapter was really good. I was pretty impressed with it. I didn't expect it to be as good as it was. I didn't know what to expect, honestly, going into this movie. I just had a feeling I either wasn't going to like it or it's just going to be too gory to the point where I had to leave the room kind of thing. Because I did see a clip of this when I was still living with my mom and stuff like that, and it did creep me out the first time I did see it. But I think since I've been watching horror movies with you, I'm starting to get a little bit desensitized.
Yeah.
To it. Not entirely, because I still get terrified at like some of the jump scares and some of the scenes that go on in movies, but I feel like I'm starting to get used to it. Which is a good thing, because I feel like that's something I kind of need to get used to at this point, because I'm like, I need to get used to it at some point, and I feel like it's better when I watch it with someone that cares about me and knows what I like and don't like. So that honestly does help.
Aw, sweet.
So yeah. I guess, what was your favorite parts about the first chapter?
The kid actors are really great.
Yeah.
Like, I really enjoyed these kid actors. I really enjoyed the setups for these, like, scares. I just, like, I enjoyed the harshness of it. Like, I enjoyed it, like, really thoroughly. Like, I think putting these kids in moral danger adds to the fact that it's, like, so terrifying. Playing up to kids' fears is terrifying. I think that's kind of why the second movie doesn't really work as well, but we'll get to that when we get to that.
Yeah. Like, I will admit, the kid actors are pretty good for who they play and stuff like that. So I guess, who's your favorite of the kids in the movie? Do you have, like, a specific kid you have, like, you like more than others, or do you like just all of them in general? Because I think mine was probably Beverly and the chubby kid. I keep forgetting what his name was. Do you remember what his name was? They call him New Kid a lot. New
Kid, yeah.
I'll just call him New Kid.
Mine was the germaphobe.
Oh, the germaphobe kid?
Uh-huh.
The one that had the cast?
Yeah.
Oh my god. Why that kid?
I don't know. I don't know. I've been around kids that are like that, so that's maybe I have a personal connection with people like that, but
maybe. But that's still cool, though. Okay, I guess, what's your favorite scene in the first movie? And if you could change anything about the first movie, what would it be and why?
Favorite scene.
Because you said JC prefers this one over the second chapter.
I think everyone prefers the second one, this first one over the second one.
I will agree with that. Minus a couple scenes in the
let's
second
see.
one, but yeah.
What's my favorite scene? Like, in terms of just a movie in general, or scares, or what are you...
Just in general, I guess. You can include scares if you want to, but I just think in general, because...
My favorite scene is Georgie's death.
Why Georgie's death?
I think it's so well played, and I think, like, the way, the introduction of Pennywise, I think it's just the perfect introduction.
But that kid was so cute.
Yeah, but that's the whole point. That's the whole point. A kid gets murdered in the book, in the miniseries, in the movie. They get murdered the first time they kill a kid. Like, that's just how it's gonna be. That's for the plot to move forward, and I think the way that they did it was excellent.
I know, but I still was, like, sad that happened, and the fact that the brother is still affected to this fucking day about his brother is just, it's sad. It's so fucking sad that I want to hug him and just, like, tell him everything's gonna be okay, and it's sad. I feel bad for this kid. Like, these kids go through some fucked up shit. Not gonna lie. These kids go through some fucked up shit in these movies.
Yeah.
And it's like... It's that moment where you want to just protect the kids. Kind of thing, for me, at least. So I guess if you could change anything about this movie, what would it be? If you could. Like, what's something you would change about it?
Let's see. I'm really trying to think, because the effects, for the most part, are phenomenally fantastic.
You can't really think of anything?
Can't really think of anything. I think the only thing I would think about is probably just write the bully characters off in, like, the first half of the movie. They served their purpose. I don't think they needed really to be brought back at the end.
Yeah, like, I agree with you on that one, because these bully characters were so bad. Like, they were just they had such bad writing, personally, in my opinion, and it's just... Some of the shit that these big bullies do to, like, these kids is just... It's so bad. Like, for context, I'll give you guys an example of one scene that honestly heartbroke me and just it made me want to punch these fucking kids in the nuts. Was the part when the new kid was getting cut on his stomach by the bully. That fucking broke me. The fact that these guys were going that far.
That's it's original source material. That's how how extreme that Stephen King normally does write his bullies. Psychopathic maniacs.
But still, like, that was so sad. Like, that poor kid. He could have fucking died. Like, right there. Because of that. And it brought me to, like, it brought so much sadness to me. And I'm like, why the fuck would these guys do this to them? And, like, don't even get me started on Beverly's dad. He was a fucking a-hole. Like, I hated that she had to go through that. Like, that shit, he was literally lusting over his fucking daughter. That's disgusting. Like, what the actual hell?
Yeah. I can't really talk about that. That's too...
It's too much to talk about.
Yeah.
But yeah, I will say this though, but I won't go too much in depth. There is some stuff in this movie that was cut out that was originally in the book. Like, can you think of any that's not too bad, honey? That we can talk about? Because some of it we really can't talk about. Just because of how bad it really gets in this movie.
I can't speak from the book perspective. I never read the book.
Okay, but you said there was stuff that was cut out from it that was supposed to be in the
I'm
movie.
sure little things, but I don't know them. I don't personally know them.
Yeah. But I know there was something, I can't remember what it is at the moment, but there was something that was supposed to be in the movie that they cut out. I just don't remember what it was. Anyway, okay. I guess what's the scariest, like, scare in the movie? Or death in the movie?
I already told you.
Can you repeat it?
Georgie's death. That's
the only thing, that's the only scene in general that you thought was, like, the best scene?
Yeah, others were setups to, like, really good scenes. How they set it up was really good, and the payoff was really good. That's just the one that impacted me the most.
Okay. So I guess, do you have anything else to say about Chapter 1 before we talk about Chapter 2?
No, I think it's a really great movie. 8 out of 10.
Alright, so you give the first part a 8 out of 10.
Uh-huh.
So yeah, since this movie is divided into two, like this franchise is divided into 2 movies, we'll give our ratings for each individual one, and then at the end of the podcast, we'll give our total for, like, the franchise for this one. Mm-hmm. Is that okay, honey? Mm-hmm. So yeah, so you give the first chapter an 8 out of 10.
Yeah.
I probably give it a 7.5 out of 10. The only thing that kind of bothered me about the first movie was the fact that the bullies, I feel like, were just, it was way too rough and way too uncalled for some of the situations, and just, it scared me, but there was a lot of stuff in, like, the first movie that did make me kind of uncomfortable. Like, just gave me, like a sense of, like, you know, uneasiness. So that's kind of why I deduct, like, half a point, just because of that.
Okay.
In general. But other than that, it's a pretty good movie. I was actually really surprised at it because of how crazy it was and stuff. Anyway, let's talk about Chapter 2.
Chapter 2.
So, this one basically takes place 27 years later.
Yeah.
So, the kids, I think, are, like, in their 30s, I believe?
30s, 40s. Meh.
Probably 30s, because they don't look like they're 40. So basically the kids are now adults. They all moved out of, how do you say the town's name?
Derry.
Yeah, so the town they're from is called Derry. They all move away from Derry at this point. They're all, like, having their own lives. Some of them are married, some of them are not. And this was the thing that kind of shocked me about the second movie. And this is something that, steered a lot of people away from this movie, and this honestly pissed me off. The fact that they killed a gay character in this movie, and the way that they treated this gay character in this gay character and his boyfriend in the movie legit pissed me off. Like, that legit pissed me off.
I'm sure it was in the original book, but that's gladly a scene that you could just cut off from the movie and there would be not one thing that would have changed.
Yeah, but that's something I feel like he should have cut out from, like, the remake. That's, like, one thing that they should have cut out, just because it was way too brutal. And the fact that this kind of was even put in the movie is just uncalled for, in my personal opinion. Like, I feel like it wasn't needed, and it shouldn't have happened. He shouldn't have put that in the movie. Because of that situation and the fact that, like, there's a lot of LGBT people that get treated like shit. And it's sad. Like, it's one of those situations where it's like, it's fucking sad that they decided, hey, let's put this in there. And it's not okay. It's not okay.
It's not okay. You can argue that that's why he put it in there, because it's not okay. But it's still one of those things to where people did not like it. A lot of people didn't really like this movie when it came out.
Was it because of just that alone?
No, it was just because it didn't live up to the expectations of the first one. Like, it's one of those movies that the first one was just so good and so damn impressive for what it was doing. People consider it one of, like, the greatest Stephen King, at least the movie,
remake.
Yeah, the remake, Chapter 1 to be one of the greatest Stephen King movies of all time.
That's crazy.
So, to come out with this kind of mediocre sequel, people just did not care for, and that's a bad taste in their mouth. So, chalk that up to however you want, sequelitis or whatever. I mean, I consider it okay. It's not something that I'm gonna watch again like I am the first one.
Yeah.
This is just something that's just gonna exist, like, for me.
Yeah, like, I agree with you on that one. Like, I was just kind of, like, I understand. I already knew that they were going to make a second chapter already when the first one came out, just because my mom had to explain to me, like, my mom and I think someone else explained to me that this movie was so long, they literally had to cut it into 2 movies. That's the only reason they had a second movie, was because if the movie wasn't as long as it already was...
Well, yeah, you're taking away from a book that's like 1,000 pages.
Yeah, but this one, like... This is one of those ones where, like, there was a lot of source material that they could use, but they couldn't fit it all into one movie, so they had to separate it.
Yeah.
That's literally the only reason we have a second movie, is because of that. If the movie did so well and didn't need a sequel, then that'd be a different situation. Because most of the time, when you're adapting a book to a movie, you gotta understand there's some stuff that has to be cut out. Not everything can be included in it. However, in this situation, they have so much source material to work with that it was a bit too much to work with. Like, they could have taken out minor scenes and done something different instead. But they didn't. And that's, like, something that I feel like they should have done with the second movie. Minus the fact that we had the beginning scene, which really pissed me off. I still feel like this movie was good. Not as good as the first one, but it did do good, in my opinion. I feel like it did do good, minus the first scene. I feel like the first scene is something you could have just skipped and not really needed, if I'm being completely honest with you. So, like, I suggest if you're really going into this movie and you really do want to see it, my suggestion is just skip over the first scene and then just start from there, because that scene really just, it just bothers me, to be completely honest with you. And I feel like it would bother a lot of people at this point.
Yeah.
So if you really do want to watch the second chapter of it, just skip over the first scene and then just watch it. But if that alone, it deters you from the movie, I can understand.
I think a lot of people, I think it's starting to be well known now, but back then, people didn't know much about the LGBTQ plus community. A lot of people didn't know that, like, the people in the community loves horror movies. They love horror movies. Like, people in that community relate to horror movies. That's a totally different discussion for another day.
Which we can do a topic video on, I guess.
A lot of gay people love horror movies, and it's one of those things where I think they just did not want to see that, because it was terrible to see. I think any reasonable person would think, like, someone getting killed is something very horrible to see. And we put them in movies, we put them in films, we put them in books, we put them in all that, so we can like feel some sense of fear and tension, and all that stuff. And I think making, like, I don't say inherently that like a gay person dying on screen is the worst thing in the world. Even though it's horrible, horrible, but you gotta have, like, you gotta have some type of reasoning for it, or you gotta have it in the plot that makes sense.
Yeah, because I feel like
if this was influenced by, like, if they showed, I think it would have been better if they showed, like, Pennywise, like, introducing himself to the group of kids who would later kill the gay guy. Like,
yeah.
I think that would have been so much better, like, established, and it would have made sense, and you would have also known that Pennywise was back.
Yeah,
so that would have made a lot more sense, but they just do it for the sake of, oh, we're just gonna have a gay guy, whether or not it was in the book or not, I don't know, but we're just gonna kill this gay guy, and then Pennywise is just gonna pick up his dead body. Like, that's what's gonna happen. And I mean, I think that's probably why this movie did not do well with, like, It did
People
well at the
in
box
general.
office. No, it did well at the box office. It was financially fine. Like,
It's just the moral stuff that goes on in this movie was kind of something that shouldn't have happened. You know what I mean?
it turned people off. I'm not saying
Yeah.
it shouldn't happen, because I think there is a scene. There's always going to be scenes where you can do them well, in my opinion. If there's one scene that's done badly, there's always another way where you can do it well. I'm just saying they did not do it well. And I think that's just based on the writing's fault.
Yeah. So who was the director of these movies? Was it the same director for both?
Yeah.
Okay. Because I just find it interesting how this guy interpreted this movie. Because I know Stephen King doesn't really direct his own movies, minus Maximum Overdrive. But I still wonder if he got, like, feedback from him.
I'm sure he was on set.
Okay. I'm asking because I don't know. Like, I don't know how they do these things. Because I know some some writers do help the people with the books. Like, example.
The book was already made a long time ago.
Yeah, so that's what. But, like, you know, if while they're, like, making the movie, I guess, like, have feedback from the creator of it to make sure that they're going in the right direction. I feel like that's something. If you're going to do, like, a remake or a reboot of a series and you have never used the source material, this is something I personally feel. I feel like you should get, one, permission from the author to do this.
Well, Stephen King was there, so he did get permission from him. So.
I know that, but I'm just saying in general. Like, you should have permission from the actual person, and you should do stuff. You should make it different, but not so different to the point where you lose your audience. Like, I'm just saying in general for, like, reboots or remakes. Just because I've seen quite a few of remakes that don't get permission from the original creator of it. Like, example, this is totally, like, different than this. I'm just gonna go on this little tangent for, like, a second, because I feel like this has to do with this. Example, the Powerpuff Girls reboot.
That's corporate. That's corporate. Look, there's some things that are going to be remain to the public, and it just has to deal with people's negotiation on things. Craig McCracken did not care for the Powerpuff Girls reboot.
Yeah, but they didn't get permission from him to do it, though.
The actresses were upset, and maybe he was upset that was happening. But look, he is a creator. Yeah. And creators cannot hold on to their work forever.
I know
creators,
that.
While they like have the license to it, they still, it's not safe from criticism. It's not safe from changing. It's not safe from anything like that. It's like Craig McCracken, whatever he was doing at the time, is like, I'm not making the original Powerpuff Girls cartoon. That's all he ever said. Like, that's all he ever said. He didn't do anything else. He didn't make a fucking big fuss. He didn't sue fucking Cartoon Network for copyrights. Yeah. He just let it happen, because that is an IP that is Cartoon Network's IP. They can do whatever the fuck they want with it, for all I care. And for all Craig McCracken cares. Like, yeah. It doesn't matter. It depends on every case-to-case scenario. And with this, I feel like whatever this director put into these two movies, that is what Stephen King wanted to happen. Okay. I'm betting you, he wanted it to happen. And you know what? From the success of both these movies, I don't know, I never read the book, but they seem faithful to the adaptation to me. So, yeah, I don't think Stephen King is mad with these. I just think that he's just like, he's still writing, but he's still writing, even though he's like fucking, I think he's 70 at this point. He still has a good bird on his shoulders. He doesn't care if people make fun of him or criticize him. He doesn't care. He doesn't fucking care anymore. He's just up there. He's just, he's writing books.
Stuff to write it.
Yeah, he's writing stuff to write it. Who fucking cares? There's already dozens of fucking shitty versions of his books already into movies and TV miniseries. Like, there's already so much shit that's like Stephen King has already Stephen King work has already spewed out already. Like, it doesn't faze him.
Yeah. I'm just saying in general, like, not in this case. I'm just saying in general.
Well, yeah, in general, but it's all on the case-to-case basis of the people who want to do it and the creator of it. That's just how it is.
But yeah, sorry for the tangent, guys. I kind of just had to bring that up just because I feel like that's something I feel like I should mention just because I feel like it's important to know in case, like, you know, just so people understand if someone ever wants to, like, remake a cartoon from, like, an already existing property, that's something I feel like you should do.
I mean, I doubt anybody who's coming here wants creator advice.
I know, but I'm just saying, okay? I'm just trying to get my feedback. Anyway, back to our topic for It Chapter 2. So what do you think of Chapter 2 in general? Like,
it's fine. It's okay. I like when the whole fucking movie does. I like when the movie, the final, I guess, climax of the movie where they have the Lovecraftian type imagery and with the transitional shots to, like, the characters as they're, like, going through their little arcs and stuff like that during the climax. I think that's cool. That's pretty much the only notable thing I can say about the fucking movie. Anything else is just... Everything else is eh. I like, whenever they flash back to the kids, I got a little bit excited, but then they would cut back immediately, and I'd be like, fuck. So, I'm just like, it's fine. It's fine.
okay, but, so another question I want to ask. Do you feel like, from the kid actors to the adult actors, do you feel like the casting for the adult actors is just as good as the kids, or do you feel like they interpreted it or casted the right people?
I think
because I'm not gonna lie, new kid looks completely fucking different as an adult in this movie. Like, they should, like, he's a ginger in the first movie, and then the second movie he's got black hair and he's like tanner. So it's like, what? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, besides that, they did all right with the casting. Like, they did really good with the casting. I'm just saying the adults don't really bring much
to the table
than what those
kids.
Yeah.
Yeah, the kids honestly were really good actors in my eyes at this point, because you could see how much emotion they had throughout the whole thing. And I also find it funny that the adult guy had no stutter at all, and then as soon as Pennywise gets brought up, he fucking gets his stutter back. Every time, like, he goes into a scary situation, it just fucking comes back, and it's like, where the fuck is it? You know what I mean? Like, did you notice that, or is that just me?
I just think it's... He's just one of those actors that are just... He's not terrible, he's just fucking there, and I gives me no sympathy for him.
Okay. Let me think. I guess if you had to change anything about the second movie, besides the first scene, I already know for a fact that we would both change the first scene. Besides that, what else would you change about the movie for the second chapter, if you could? What's something you would change about it? Like, be honest with me, because I know you probably have a lot of criticism about the second movie. So go ahead, honey. Lay it on us.
I just... For one, I wish it was shorter, because the place felt like a snail just going at it.
It really did.
I wish it didn't... I wish they would have told... I would just wish that it was just not a slow pace, and I wish that the acting from the adults, besides Bill Hader, the acting from the adults was just kind of bland.
Yeah, I'm gonna agree with you on that one.
In terms of, like, scares and stuff like that, it just seemed a lot more, since, like, it just seemed a lot more stale, because I know these are adults than children, and I think children play up fear better than adults do.
Yeah, so okay, so I guess I'll talk how about we ask about the best scare in this movie, and then there's another question I want to ask you regarding this movie. But first, what is the best scare in your opinion in this movie? Like, what was your favorite one in this movie? I know, like, you still like the first one better, but what was your favorite in chapter 2?
I can't really think of anything.
I think for me, mine was probably the whole ending climax of just him, like, turning into this big-ass fucking spider scorpion thingy, and, like, that freaked me out a bit. And just the idea of how crazy it got, in my opinion. I feel like they went into a direction with this movie that they didn't even fucking talk about in the first one at all. Like, the fact that one of the guys went to a Native American tribe and found out that they went through this same thing too, like, years ago. But they bring, like, Native American lore into this, which I don't understand why they decided to do that. I just don't personally understand it. Is there, like, a specific reason they did that? Like,
I don't know.
Or were they just doing it to make some kind of sense with the book?
I don't know. Don't ask me about the book.
Okay. Because from what I've seen of, like, the movie, like, I just don't see how that fits into the first movie at all. Like, in the first movie, they don't really talk about, like, where he came from. You don't really find out his origins until, like, the second movie. So it's like, in the first one, he was just there. But they don't really explain why he's there, how he got here. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But in the second movie, they just put this out, and it's like, what? And, like, why a clown? Like, if he was some kind of fucking alien or something, then that would have been different. But he's not an alien from what it looks like. And if he is, he's got a weird way of fucking showing it. You know what I mean? Like, am I making sense?
Yeah, I mean, you're making sense.
I'm
think
just
to the
thinking-
context of Stephen King, it might be something a little bit different, but
Okay. I'm just trying to understand it, because I don't know much about Stephen King. This is, like, the first good movie I've seen from him, because I saw Maximum Overdrive and that fucking sucked. But I personally think both of these movies are good. The first one more than the second, but there was some good things in the second one that I did like how they did. I did like the climax of it. I am kind of disappointed they literally, like, killed off 2 of the main characters, which kind of sucked.
yeah.
In all honesty. And the fact that, like, the ending for this movie almost brought me to tears. The fact that they literally get the friend's, like, suicide letter or suicide note or something. Well, some kind of letter to them before he died. Because there was, just so you guys know, there is a character in this movie that dies at the beginning. And you never really know why. Like, it's not really explained why until, like, the end of the movie. Mm-hmm. Which is, like, I feel like that was a good tactic they could do, but I feel like they should have kind of gave hints throughout the movie about why he did it. But that's just personally me. And then the second character literally died at the fucking end. But his was, like, uncalled for, though. That death was, like, uncalled for. Like, both were uncalled for, but that was, like, more uncalled for than the other one. Because it literally happened out of nowhere. And you don't really, like... You never know why he's scared. You never know why he's scared. He's just scared. And I feel like I'm rambling at this point. Okay. I guess last question, and then you can give your rating. Mm-hmm. So, and this is one I did think about a little bit while I was watching the movie. If the second movie was focused on the kids, not like 27 years later, but like maybe they're in high school instead of like middle school, do you think that would have made the movie better? Like, they would still be older, but they would like be like, you know, not as old as they were in this. So like if they were like teenagers instead of kids or like adults or anything like that, do you feel like that would have made the situation better?
There are adults. I think the whole point of that book is to show that the adults can still get scared over childhood fears. I just don't think that was handled in this movie very well.
Yeah. But I feel like there's other movies that do it better, but still. I personally feel like this could have worked well if they were teenagers as well.
Yeah, but we already got that. It's called It Chapter 2. Or
Yeah.
not It Chapter 2, It Chapter 1. I think adding it as teenagers would have just been redundant.
Okay. I don't know. Maybe it was just me. Anyway, that's it for the It franchise in general. What do you give your rating for the second movie? And then what do you give the franchise overall? Like,
I would give the second movie a 4 out of 10, and I would give
the whole franchise.
Whole franchise overall, well, I guess I would give it a 6.
You give it a 6?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, for the second movie, since I gave the first one a 7.5, I'd probably give it, like, a 6.5 out of 10. Like, I kind of, or, like, in the middle. I'll give it a 5. I think a 5 would probably be a little bit more accurate. I don't think it's a completely bad movie. However, there's some things that I feel like they could have really fixed and done differently. But I don't feel like it's a bad movie. The only thing that I feel like they should have changed was the beginning scene, not cutting out the 2 of the characters for the movie. One, like, at the beginning and one, like, way later. At least until, like, near the end. I feel like they shouldn't have just killed them off at the beginning, because that would be kind of ridiculous. Like, why would you put them in there if they were going to get killed off in the first, like, scene or whatever, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So, if I had to change anything, they should have redone the first scene, and they should have, like, not killed off the characters at the beginning until, like, way later in the story. But that's just a personal pet peeve of mine. Okay, so that's basically it for the It franchise. Now let's talk about Us, because oh my gosh, this fucking movie confused the shit out of me.
Yep.
So basically, this movie was directed by Jordan Peele, the same guy who made Get Out. So it's the same director. But why don't you tell the audience what Us is about, honey?
Us is about a family who goes to a summer home vacation, and then they get greeted by themselves with scissors, and they themselves tries to kill them.
Yeah, that's basically the fucking movie. This movie fucks with my mind to the point where I'm like, were these people on fucking drugs?
Maybe.
And were the actors and were the family on fucking drugs that made this happen? Like, there was literally no way to know how this fucking happened. There was no context, no backstory, no nothing. You just have the whole thing playing out, and it's fucking creepy as shit and unnerving. I can't tell which is more impactful to me. Get Out or this? Get Out at least, like, had way more uneasiness to me, while this one was more confusing. In my personal opinion. Like, it was...
Get Out is a better movie for me.
Yeah, Get Out was a better movie in general, but this one was still good. I was just more confused. So, I guess, what did you think about Us? What did you think about it?
I saw this in theaters, and the audience was having great reactions to this, and it was just such an enjoy experience. I think, personally, watching it now, it has less of an impact when you see it with an audience, but I think it's still a really good, solid piece of work. I do think, like, the creepiness value, like, really adds to it. I love Lupita Nyong'o's performance in it.
I will agree with you. She did really
an amazing
great
actress.
job in this.
Yeah, she's an amazing actress.
She needs to be in more movies. Like, I haven't seen her in that many movies. But she's really good at her like, acting. Like, I will be completely honest with you. I was blown away by her performance. Like, it was so good. That's something I will agree with you on this. Like, her performance was fantastic. And I would be happy to see more movies with her, if I'm being completely honest.
Yeah.
Has she been in a lot of movies, or is she, like, a new actress?
No, she's been around. She's been around for a while, since 2013. But yeah, I really want to. I want to see her more stuff. It's just I need to go find the stuff that she's actually in, Because I only seen her. I think I've only seen her in a couple movies. So I need to go see which one she is in. So I mean, it's one of those movies to where it's more of an experience that you have to see, and it's much more harder to talk about because the interpretation is just so vague. All I can say is that it pulls off the creepiness factor very well. The performances in it are good, and I think that it's a great movie. It's not Jordan Peele's, like, from the 2 movies he's directed. I don't think it's his, like, this is his second best movie. Yeah, second best.
Yeah.
I think that's pretty much it. I can't really say much that happened. I can't really say much that happens in it. It's just kind of left to interpretation of what happens in it. So,
but what do you personally feel like happened in it? Because this, to me,
I think it's just all a metaphor for just. I think it was just all a metaphor. What? I don't know, but it's some type of metaphor. Just something about someone, like. Something. I don't know.
Because this movie, like, really confused me with the direction they were going with. I understand that these people were trying to escape this other group of people, but at the same time, it's like, you don't know how the fuck this even happened. Like, at all. Like, are they just, like, a copy of the people? Or are they just, like, in another dimension that they just happened to cross with or something? They don't give you any fucking context. And it makes it confusing.
I don't know.
Like, in my opinion. All I got out of this was the really good performances and just the fact that we had some badass fucking scenes in this that I will admit were pretty good, in my opinion. It's just, I don't understand anything about this movie. The actual, like, backstory and, like, lore of this movie, you literally don't understand at all. I don't get it. Like, you have the family, then you have another family that's in complete red, and there's a lot of other people that are like this too. You don't know where they came from. You don't know why they're doing the stuff they're doing. All they say is, like, they're like shadow people. They're like the shadows of everybody, but it doesn't look like they are. Like, and the fact that they had, like, a scene in the beginning where they have, like, a company that has, like, everyone holding hands, and at the end, they're all holding hands, but it doesn't make any sense. Like, it doesn't make any sense to me. In my opinion. Like, I'm not bashing this movie. I just don't understand where it was going. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like, do you understand where it was going, or is it just me?
I think that's just the fun of it. You don't understand what the fuck you watched, but you enjoyed it.
I did, but I didn't understand it. I feel like this is one of those movies where you kind of have to see it for yourself to understand what we're talking about, because I still don't understand this. And we just watched it, like, not even like an hour ago, and I'm just, like, fucking confused as shit. And just the fact that I still don't get, because at the end, like, you find out the girl went through some kind of traumatic experience, like PTSD, but then you see at the end, one girl chokes the other and gets dragged down to this other place, and one of them gets chained to the bed, and the other one fucking leaves. So was the girl the whole time the shadow one, or was the girl the whole time the real one?
The girl was the shadow one.
So the shadow one was the person that was in the real world.
Yeah.
And then the other one happened to be the real person.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes a little bit more sense, but why was this a thing? And why did they do this the way they did? Because that, to me, freaked me out. Because I'm like, what the fuck am I watching? Like, that's only half the movies you showed me for this.
A lot of interpretations of horror and thriller, like, are just metaphors for things in real life, whether it be for oneself, people's fears, like other things that happen in real life. Like, a lot of these films rely on metaphor. A lot of these films rely on your own interpretations. And
also, this movie does show...
I think it does that, but it doesn't show it in a boring way, and I appreciate it for that.
Yeah, but also something you guys should understand about this. you do see Jeremiah 11:11 in this movie. And I actually did look up this verse in the Bible, and like it does make sense for this movie. I feel like that was like a small trend that was going on in this movie where you see 11:11 in this movie, and I feel like it's kind of like in like the Final Destination movies where like the number 180 was the number that made everybody die. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So I feel like that's kind of similar to this one, except not as prevalent as in the Final Destination movies. This one, you notice it, but it's not as, like, important as Final Destination, where they do the 180 all the time. Mm-hmm. So, I'm trying to think of what else to ask about this. So, I guess, something I will ask about it. So, I guess, if you had to change anything in the Us movie, what would it be and why?
I don't know. I'm not smart enough to think of any, like, interpretations that I could get out from this.
Not really much for me either.
This is more like a Twilight Zone thing than it is an actual, like, cohesive story, in my opinion. This is a Twilight Zone movie.
Yeah, it didn't really make sense. And that's kind of sad for me to say, just because of the way that they did it. Like, the way that they did the entire movie, it's a good movie, it just doesn't make any sense. I feel like something that they should have done with this movie is that they should have made it have at least a little bit more sense than it did. You can still have, like, the interpretation and the mystery of it, but you shouldn't just completely not explain anything. Like, not everyone's gonna, I'm just gonna be honest. Not everyone is gonna understand what the movie is talking about. Not everyone can. So if you have at least some kind of an explanation, it doesn't have to be like a good one, at least like a basic one, then people can understand it. But with this one, they gave nothing. No way of reason of why this is going on, why this is happening. It just happens. And but the way they did it, it's good, but it's not. You know what I mean?
I understand.
That's the only thing, that's one of the things about this movie that I feel like they should have not done. They should have made it at least make a little bit of sense. That way, the audience doesn't get confused. I don't know how many people in the theater when you went were confused about the movie, but...
No, people were more like going like, what the fuck? Because that's just how weird it was.
Personally, for me, if I went to go see this movie in theaters, I would be so confused at this movie. And I still am confused. I can't wrap my brain around what the fuck was even going on for like half this movie. The acting was fucking good, though, I will admit that, but just the direction is just... It's a lot. It's a fucking lot. Am I glad you showed me this movie? Yes. Am I ever gonna fucking understand this movie? Hell no. Like, I will never understand this movie. And this is like the second time you've seen it, right?
Yeah.
Did you notice anything different from this compared to the first time you watched it, or no?
Not really.
That's interesting, because I know when you watched, what was it? When you watched Get Out...
The only thing I knew from it was the twist. That's pretty much what I knew from it. It's because I already seen it already.
Yeah, because when you watched Get Out, you said you noticed a lot more stuff that you didn't notice before. That's why I was asking. Mm-hmm. Because it's made by the same guy who made, Get Out and stuff. Mm-hmm. So I was just curious if, it's something that, like, you noticed more in this one since this like the second time you've seen it. Okay, since I am like really rambling so much today.
Yeah.
Like, I'm sorry, guys. Honey, I think you need to unlock your phone.
Oh, yeah. It's fine, it's still going.
Okay, but here, let me... Alright. There you go.
You're fine. It's still going.
Okay, I want to make sure...
You're still going, don't worry.
Okay, sorry, we're having technical difficulties here, so please excuse us trying to figure out what the fuck is going on with my partner's phone. Okay, so I guess last thing we'll talk about at this point, since this movie's I can't fucking talk half the time. Since this is literally almost an hour, let's give our final ratings for this movie, and we'll go from there. What do you give this movie out of 10?
6 out of 10.
Give it a 6 out of 10?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I'm probably going to give this I'll actually give it a 6 out of 10 as well. It's not bad. It's not good. I feel like this is one of those movies. It has really good potential, but they should have, like, explained a bit more in this movie, in my personal opinion. Because there are some people that aren't just going to get it at all. And it's kind of hard to understand it if you're going to...
Not everyone's going to get any piece of media, every single piece of media out there. I think that's a good thing.
And that's fine. It's just, like, I understand not everyone's going to get it, but I feel like the general public, like, people in general are not going to understand it. Not, like, every single person, but... I can't explain it. You get what I mean or no?
Yeah, I understand.
Okay. But, yeah... That's it for the podcast tonight, and that's it. Us talk about the It franchise and us. So, thank you guys for watching. Be on the lookout for some more Halloween Spectacular podcasts. We're going to be doing them all month. So, I'm Mari.
I'm Jay.
And we are out.